And our first story, Ghana's tourism industry, well, is the largest foreign exchange earner for the country, and in times past was described as the perfect travel destination for those who want to travel to this part of the continent.
The Oxford Street here in Accra is one of such places which used to attract tourists. The numbers have, however, declined in the last couple of years, and business owners on the streets have attributed this to lack of government support, the invasion of mentally retarded people on the streets, poor sanitation, and more. Here's Joy News' Zarina Almandi.
The Osu Oxford Street, once known as Osu Ari, has over the years seen a decline in the number of tourist visits and patronage of its shops, which made it popular. The several shops, banks and restaurants earned the name Oxford Street after the original street in London. Assembly member for the area, Benjamin Nikwe, who's lived here all his life, reminisces with disappointment.
Before, it was very big. People were rushing in there. But of late, my sister, I will tell you that street, also street, all the shops there, they are the most expensive shops in the whole Ghana, in the whole country. In the whole country. They don't take cedis. They take dollars, huge amount of dollars. And so that one makes people to be going back. It's not like before when things were.
Amina has been selling on the street for 18 years. Her main problem is the invasion by mentally retarded people.
As we are here, we do not make any sales. We are just living with mentally retarded people. If you meet 3 right-minded people, the 4th person is mentally retarded. This morning, a mentally retarded man pushed a vendor with her wares around this place. The government should please get them out of here. They are taking over this place. Almost everyone abroad has heard of the Oxford Street here and wants to visit this place anytime they come to Ghana. It is bad if they come and see the mad people here.
Some business owners are calling for the relevant state institutions to work towards restoring the popularity of the street as a preferred hangout for patrons.
They used to make programs here, and like they started let's say what do you call it? Street fair, like a trade fair on the street. But I don't know what stopped them. They are not doing it again. And it was good, it was fun.
Assembly member for the Osudoku electoral area, Benjamin Nikwe, has some more concerns.
Oh, the major challenges are especially the traffic. The traffic, 1. And 2, the sanitation is very poor. Very, very, very poor. A place like Oxford Street should not have that type of sanitation. And at times too, see the place very dark. All the lights, the street lights will go off.
It probably could also be that the Oxford Street may not be that popular anymore because the shopping malls now littered all over Accra are now offering all that the streets used to give and a whole lot more. Zarina Mandi for Joy News.
And farmers in the Kulungungu community in the Upper East region have for many years depended on the white water to irrigate their farms.
The river has however run dry, with the farmers facing a very bleak future. Here's our colleague Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin, who reports the situation has brought out the ingenuity in the farmers who are resolved to find a way around the challenge. And we're going to be bringing you that full report from Mahmoud and Nuruddin later on here on the show.
But we have to move on to the subject of education, and authorities in the Setre South district of the Ashanti region, they are contemplating closing down some schools affected by the weekend's severe rainstorms.
Many classrooms have had their roofs ripped off, and authorities say it is becoming increasingly difficult to find temporary learning facilities for students. Nana Asenso Mensa reports.
A number of schools, including Jamasi SDA JHS, LA Experimental, and Edujafi Senior High School at Jamasi, Bipua, and nearby communities suffered extensive damage to their structures. Authorities said they are considering moving stranded students to other educational facilities or closing down affected schools. Jocelyn Asante Boama is District Educational Director.
It's severe, serious, so that the children will not get hurt in addition. We are now assessing. So you have to get a holistic view of what is happening. Then we can take a solid decision. If it becomes necessary to even go on break for a day or two, for some of, especially where the small children, kindergarten and lower primary, will do that. So that as early as possible, we are asking the assembly, I've talked about it already, to help us fix the rooms where it was only the roofs that were affected. And then we'll take time to fix the block work. So that's what we are doing. Immediately, that is, it will be difficult to say. Another alternative is to get tents. But it will be difficult to say we're going to go in for tents because, again, even with the roofs that have been nailed, when it rained, look at what happened. How much more tents, you understand? The wind can lift them up and so on. So for a day or two, I don't think it will cause too much of a problem. And then later, we'll be communicating to our teachers. They will find ways to do remedial teaching to make up for the lost time.
Presiding member for the Central South District Assembly, Michael Opoku, assured victims of swift action to provide relief.
We're going to get to know the number of roofing sheets probably may be needed. We'll look into the Assembly's caucus and find out whether we can get some money so that we get some relief items to send to those people. These are some of the measures, the immediate measures that we can take. But for the schools, we'll meet the director. Those that we think is unbearable, we'll ask the students to go home, the pupils to go home, in the interim. They'll get to know how best we can solve that problem.
Nana Sensumensa reporting for Joy News.
Stories. A major challenge confronting Accra over the years has been the disposal of fecal matter.
The practice for many years now has been dumping of the liquid waste directly into the sea by sewage trucks, the main source of a long-standing rift between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. There's, however, been some positive development in the last few months since the Lavender Hill fecal treatment plant was opened. And our colleague Joseph Akablay has toured the facility and has more in the following report.
Few minutes after arrival at the facility, as many as 4 trucks could be seen coming in to dump fecal matter for treatment, with over 200 trucks expected to pull through daily. Commissioned in November 2016, the plant receives waste from vehicles treated to acceptable EPA levels before it is disposed into the sea. The plant has a storage facility that can receive waste for as many as 3 days in the event the plant is down. Engineer Florence Kobold is the general manager of the facility.
The highest we have received so far is about 232.
In a single day?
In a single day. The capacity of the plant is about 2,000 meter cubed per day. And if you translate that to trucks, it's about over 200. Because each truck is roughly 10, most of the trucks 10 cubic. But there are some that are 5, 7. So about the 2,000 will translate to about 250 trucks in a day. That's the capacity of the plant.
Reducing the level of toxic dumping into the sea is not the only goal. There are equipment in place to begin generation of power from the waste in 5 months.
Yes, it will take place. Like I told you, from the dewatering stage, the effluent will now come into the USB, where we are standing now, USB, upflow anaerobic sludge blanket. That is where the treatment itself, that is what we are charging now. I told you it's a biological process. So that is where the gas will be generated on top of this tanks you see here. So the gas that will be generated, if you turn to this side, you see these cylindrical machines. The gas will be tapped and it will be cleaned, purified. You know, the gas is not just methane. We have methane, hydrogen sulfide, and then carbon dioxide. And it's just the methane we need for the gas we need to be able to generate electricity. So
the treatment plant owned by the Zoom Lion Group appears to be saving the sea. The hope of many is that this positive development has come to stay.
So we have to also look at politics, and the previous NDC administration has parried blame for the current instability of the country's power sector.
Former Deputy Power Minister and NDC Member of Parliament for Buepe, John Jinapo, attributing to Parliament's ongoing or contributing to Parliament's ongoing debates on the President's State of the Nation's address delivered last Tuesday, told Parliament the Mahama administration invested enough to ensure there will be enough electricity to go around the entire country. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
Mr. Jinapo told Parliament the previous administration put in place all necessary measures to ensure uninterrupted power supply before exiting power.
Having gone through this and having taken these difficult but necessary measures, Mr. Speaker, I wish to state on authority, and I'm convinced that under no circumstances, Mr. Speaker, should do so revisit us. Mr. Speaker, the current challenge we are facing, the current doomsday that we are facing, the prevalence of doomsday today cannot, Mr. Speaker, be attributed to the past administration. Not in the least, no way. Because we took all the difficult decisions. Mr. Speaker, we worked tirelessly. The whole of last year, we had reliable power, we have sustainable power. The FPO went off, FPO went off for 2 months. We never had doomsday.
Also contributing to the debate, NPP MP for Adentan, Yabuabin Asamoah suggested there may be attempts by officials appointed by the previous administration to sabotage the current administration.
You come into a transition and you inherit a staff, you inherit an organization, and you believe that that organization has been specifically targeted and staffed with sympathizers of the other party who may not be on the same wavelength with you, either ideologically or even in implementing your vision. What do you do, Mr. Speaker? I believe Schedule 14, Section 14, which is the Schedule to Act 845, is inadequate to deal with political appointments and those who must automatically step down when a new president comes into being. Mr. Speaker, even those who manage public utility facilities, sanitary facilities, accept that when a new government comes, they must move aside for the new government people to take over. Why are certain persons in certain organizations at the highest level pretending that nothing has happened yet? Mr. Speaker, this act does not take enough cognizance of the number of agencies, number of public entities, the personnel of which must change in order to give the new government leeway to deliver on its vision and its promises.
NDC MP for Akachi North, Peter Nochu, challenged the president to extend the payment of teacher training allowances to university students as well.
We know very well that it is not only the colleges of education in this country that train teachers for us. And as I said earlier, whatever is good for the goose should be good for the gander. We have University of Ghana also training teachers, the Faculty of Education over there. Such teachers should also be brought onto the program if we want to be sincere and fair to them. We have University of Education also training teachers for our institutions, as well as University of Cape Coast. They are all teacher trainees. And once teacher education or colleges of education are tertiary institutions, it is just proper that these institutions where they train teachers are also brought on board to benefit from the teacher trainee allowances. Thank you.
A claim by the NDC MP for Pando, Dela Soa, that the president's address was partisan drew heckling from members on the majority side.
My constituents have conveyed to me, have asked me to convey some sentiments to the president. I've received a number of calls, text messages and WhatsApp messages that campaign is over. The president is president not only over MPP, but president over everybody. And therefore, the advice is that his future addresses should be less partisan. He made an unnecessary comment to mock the NDC supporters, saying they have a problem with facts. He continues, and I read, I am wondering now his government.
Mr. Jinapo, meanwhile, blamed the latest outages on the current government's dismissal of some key management officials in the current administration.
Certainly, the fact speaks for itself. We've increased generation capacity to more than 4,000 megawatts as against a peak demand of about 2,000. Even if you derate it and you take available and dependable capacity into consideration, our generation far outweighs our supply. So generation cannot be a problem. The other issue would have been finance. The institution of the energy sector levy, the reforms we undertook, and all the projects and programs that we implemented clearly indicates that we were on track to dealing with the problem. You do recall that last year?
You didn't deal with it fully, which is the argument that the Power Ministry currently is making, that the Dumsor did not go after all.
The challenges in the power sector can never be over in any day because new problems keep coming and you keep solving them. The most important thing is that you ought to be proactive. How come that last year, the whole of last year, we were able to supply dependable, sustainable power, and this year we were unable to do that? If it was not solved, how can we be able to provide adequate supply of power? Even when the FPSO went off for close to 2 months, we did not shed load. And this is a fact. We bequeathed to the MPP a resilient, robust, strong energy sector with a very, very good foundation. Yes, we considered there was a debt, but we took steps to deal with the debt. We had a two-pronged approach, dealing with legacy debt and also taking steps to prevent further accumulation of the debt. And so there is no excuse, absolutely no excuse, for us to go back into Dumsor.
I'll come back to the issue of the debt, but this current government has been in power for just 2 months. Obviously, they couldn't have done anything magical to ensure the lights stay on. All other things, because if you had really fixed the problem, as you create the impression that
They did not have to do anything magical. They did not have to do anything. They just needed to follow the good programs, the roadmap that we had put in place. As I speak to you, the chief executive of the VRA has been fired. The chief executive of ECG has been fired. All they needed to do was to take their time, talk to these chief executives who have brought us this far, so that you can have a continuation. Governance is a continuum. And so I don't think that they needed to do anything extraordinary. We laid a solid foundation. We laid a good trajectory. The energy sector levy was working. We took steps to ensure that we reduce the losses. And all they needed to do was to follow those steps and take their time. It's as simple as that.
The argument is that even during your time, we still have the situation of the lights going out. So if it's continuing, then it's the mess in code that you created that wasn't fixed after all.
The people of Ghana will tell you that they didn't experience this level of Dumsor under arrest. This pervasive, debilitating Dumsor that we're experiencing, we did not experience that last year.
Your point is that it's worse today than it was under your regime?
Energy is such that once in a while you might have a challenge. But immediately you have that, you deal with that. But more importantly, you must come clear with the people of Ghana. Has this government considered that we are under Dumsor? They are even refusing to conceive that we are under Dumsor. When we have challenges, we're frank, we're honest, and we communicate to the people of Ghana. And so let them open up, let them be transparent with us, so that together we can solve this problem.
And that's it for the news. But we have a lot more interactions to do as we look at the various news stories on the newspaper front pages. We also have some interesting stories on the back pages as well. But talking about news for today and tomorrow is going to be all how government decides to determine your life by way it's spent, as the finance minister will appear before the plenary of parliament to state the highlights of the 2017 budget, the first for an Akufo-Addo-led government.
All right. But you know, today's 1st of March. We're done with the love month. No long tins in the month of March. As part of the 60th celebrations, today we've been asked to hoist the flag. Yeah, did you listen carefully to my interaction with Jeff?
I did,
Jeff
and I really loved the words he even chose and some of the themes that you talked about. And I think particularly also brings to bear the focus of 60 years of our independence, but also how that is sandwiched between the current generation we have and how we need to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, so I love what you have here. I mean, you're looking absolutely Ghanaian. I don't know if when I say I am committed to looking Ghanaian as well in some one way or the other in the month, in the Ghana month, but you know, we can all encourage ourselves and feel and look Ghanaian, at least in the month of March. Hopefully we'll get used to that.
Fantastic.
And display that all the time.
Yeah. Again, we have to remind you, we have a conversation An AM Talk segment with Emmanuel Bajra. Emmanuel Bajra is a member of parliament for Ho West.
Yeah, and also Dr. Kwabena Chum Nyama, who is member of parliament for Brekum East and who made some startling revelations in parliament yesterday. The NHIS, you know, he's a member of the health committee as well.
Of parliament?
So, yes.
Great.
So whatever he says on the floor means a lot because it means that he's getting the information from a very reliable source. He says the NHIS totally collapsed. Hospitals don't have the weigh-in card, so they're resorting now to ordinary exercise books to track weighing and the when you have a baby, there's a way of monitoring the progress of that child with the booklets, the weigh-in book, the weigh-in card. In the absence of that, they're using exercise books, which is not good. But how widespread is this situation? Fortunately, he's here on the show, so we'll get to talk about it. It's also Zero Discrimination Day. Today, refuse to be discriminated against in any form. And we're not talking women being discriminated against. We're talking women, men, children, everybody. Amnesty International is on our show today as we talk about the subject. But Maxwell Agbagba is also going out there with a board. What we seek to do with that this morning is to find out from you if you feel discriminated against, if you've been discriminated against in any way, in what form. Just write it on that cute board of ours later this morning. Let's explore the subjects.
Now we know that there are many people who are discriminated against for varied reasons. It could be just because you're a woman. Even only for a woman, perhaps you don't have too much of, or sometimes you don't look too beautiful, or sometimes you're too beautiful, or you're just too intelligent, and somebody just discriminates against you. Or even if you're a man, you're too short, or perhaps you're too plump, or you're too stocky, or etc., or just not too intelligent.
Who determines that, by the way?
So we have various segments and types of discrimination. So we're here to discuss all that.
Yeah, Mr. Austin Gamez, also a labor specialist, and he'll be speaking with us on the subject because, there's a lot of discrimination at the workplace, for instance. Today we're talking about things that happen to all of us. I think I've been discriminated against a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even this week, you spoke to me roughly. Discrimination against your colleague.
Okay, that's it. Stay with us. We have the newspapers up next here on the show. No talking.